Dear Honda, I've been a good kid this year. I took care of my bikes, I rode both off and on the road. So that's why I have to ask you, I want my dream motorcycle.
A dual sport that's good on the road but kicks asphalt off the pavement. A strong, torque-filled 450 engine that doesn't need an oil change at every corner. I want to travel the world but also commute to my job. I'm not asking for much. Please, Mr. Honda.
This is the Honda CRF450L, and Honda claims that the L doesn't stand for loser.
That's why, even though usually an L Honda puts that letter in the word slow, they base this motorcycle off their 450 motocross bike.
Yes, this power plant down here, it's basically the same as the one in their MX bikes. And so you get the motocross bike that's good for the streets, with hopefully better maintenance intervals.
Except, it isn't. You see, you can't just take a deregulated, rev-happy 450 monster and slap a Euro 4 badge on it. It's far from easy, but developing a brand new engine is also really costly. So what did Honda do? They took their MX bike and put a choker on it, and then tightened that belt as tight as it would go. Because this motorcycle, yeah, stock, it only hits 25 horsepower.
That's the same as their own CRF450L, but somehow this is worse, because what this choking also resulted in is snatchiness. That throttle does not like to be feathered, at least not at low RPM.
It almost seems like Honda didn't expect Euro 4 emissions tests to perfect their product, but it did. To be fair, there is a way to bring it back to life, although technically illegal. An airbox mod in the new Vortex ECU will fix those issues, bringing the power output closer to about 45 horsepower. Not a great lot for a 450, but it's enough for some proper fun on a dual sport.
This wants to be on the more hardcore side of the dual sport market. It should allow you to go places where a KLR can't even dream of reaching. Unfortunately, the bad news persists, and that's because of part weakness. This motorcycle has seen rougher trails than 99% of its peers, and so the durability has been thoroughly tested. That's why I can tell you you're going to break some levers, maybe a shifter rod, a fan, bend some handlebars, stuff like that.
And also, you're not going to go far either. This gas tank only holds 7.6 liters of fuel. If all you ever did were light fire roads, you could achieve a bit of distance, but toss in anything tougher and that range drops dramatically. In fact, when compared with my 2016 KTM 300 two-stroke, guess which bike first ran out of fuel? Not the Pumpkin.
But I get it. The whole point of a 450L is that it allows you to easily go through paved roads without too much stress. And you know what? The only thing I could hold it against it here is the slight lack of power, but still, even that is stretching it a little. As far as plated dirt bikes go, this is one of the best on-road performance.
This engine is smooth, it can be fuel efficient, provides enough low-down torque to have some fun, and doesn't stop there. The suspension is compliant enough on the pavement and brakes will not let you down.
Look, overall Honda did a really good job at making this bike a good street machine. In fact, toss in some sumo wheels and a larger disc up front, and you might end up with a pretty fun canyon carver.
And even when you decide to leave the pavement, it's not a motorcycle that disappoints. You can talk specs all day, but how a motorcycle feels is the most important at the end of the day. And this feels pretty good. The suspension is just right. It's not the cheap bottom of the barrel stuff that you might expect. And so it handles small bumps decently without easily bottoming out over a cheeky speed bump jump. Also, the weight isn't too bad either for a dual sport, coming in at just about 131 kilograms. That's a lot for tight technical stuff, but on the more flowy trails, this motorcycle covers its weight nicely. Overall, for a dual sport, it's really applicable, a proper fun machine.
And there is more, because we choose bikes with the heart just as much, if not more than with our brain. And in the looks department, I think Honda nailed it.
Plastics look pretty slick, and I do love the shape of that headlight. It genuinely looks like a futuristic dirt bike, and I like that a lot. The 450L actually looks like a really compelling bike now. It's got a ton going for it, alongside the classic Japanese reliability, except Houston, we have a problem.
This motorcycle has a 1,000 kilometer oil change interval. For a proper dirt bike, that's amazing. For a dual sport or lightweight adventure bike, It's pretty abysmal. Look, I get it. It's a lot better than the motocross counterpart, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities to want to do a trip longer than 1,000 kilometers.
And with this, you just can't. Except if you don't fancy carrying one of these around with you. But all of these downsides culminate into an even bigger one. The price. This motorcycle, new, off the showroom floor, will cost you $10,400 or 9,200 euro. That's a pretty big hole in your pocket.
I get it. European pumpkins have been charging this for some time, but I would argue that they have a more complete package out of the box. And when you add in a bigger tank and a Vortex ECU, things that I would say are mandatory, you're reaching into the 10,000 euro area, and that's a lot for a dual sport.
I don't want to leave the impression that this is a bad motorcycle, because it isn't. It's actually really fun, but you have to be a really specific niche type of buyer to look into actually spending money on this. I was going to end this video by saying that this bike might just be too niche, and that its ideal buyer might not exist. But the more I ride it, the more I'm willing to glance over its shortcomings, because as long as money isn't an issue, most of these are fixable, and when you do, you get something pretty cool. Dare I say, even worthy of competing with the Europeans.
It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering.